Okay. Thanks for joining. We're just just getting started with the call this morning, and just mentioning for those who may not know that there is a open, kind of ask me anything type of any question office hours call that we have every Friday morning, 30 minutes before right now, starting at 7:30 Pacific time, and then so for the Modern Apps SRE live call, the focus is to go through the site reliability, engineering, maintenance, support, design, planning, implementation for all of the features that you may leverage when you go and visit any of the Modern Apps Ninja sites. We manage all of it together here on these calls. And today, I'm not sure if everyone's aware, I've had it posted on the site for a couple of weeks, but I didn't go out of my way to heavily promote that today we are starting a hackathon week. I'm using a bunch of new assets to support the hackathon activities. And so I didn't, that's part of the reason why I didn't promote it super heavily. I don't want to deter participation because I want to definitely need participation for anybody who's interested. And first thing I want to say about the hackathon is it is to participate and to earn, there's 6 badges that people can earn this week for doing very, very simple contributions. So you can come in and do something that takes 5 minutes and earn one of the badges, and none of them are cumbersome to get. And so I'm going to go ahead and share about that here. And that'll be the primary focus of today's call. But before I get into talking about that more, I just thought I'd pause real quick and I'll look at the chat tape. That was from just before from the previous office hours call. And let's see. Let me pause for a moment and see if anybody has any questions or comments. Feel free to unmute. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining. And please know, as we go throughout the presentation, don't hesitate to unmute and shout out to any question, any reason, anything you want to share. I sometimes, can get into my presentation and may not pause to take a break frequently enough. I will try to take those pauses, but at the same time, again, don't hesitate to unmute at any point. I do want these sessions, people always feel comfortable for these to be interactive sessions. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my desktop. Move things around a little bit. Okay, so a little bit about local development while I'm showing the hackathon page, because I'm putting in some of the details, but not to worry, because we'll go over all the details. Okay. It looks like my Zoom froze up, but sorry about that. I hope that you can hear and see the screen share all right now.
Hey, Art, looks like we can see the screen now.
Hey, sorry about that.
No worries.
It is the only application that does that to me. Sporadic. Like, I'd love to think there's something wrong with my PC that is easy to find, but it's like I don't have instability in any other application. It's just frustrating. But what are you gonna do? Okay, yeah. So as you can see here, I'm still working on this page, which I'll have posted today, and I'm also going to post this video recording shortly after, when Zoom gives it to me, shortly after we get off this call. So there are available instructions and reference materials for participation. So while I'm here, though, let me take a little preamble and just do a little quick refresher on doing local development. So you can see here, I have a Visual Studio IDE open. And so what I did to arrive at what I'm doing right now is, looks like it's already been cleared from, maybe it wasn't this one. See my history, so you can see what I did. So I did this command here with the GitHub CLI, git repo clone a fuel June21 hackathon. Now, let's review what I did there with that. Just open the tab, and let's go to github.com/ModernApps Learning. And you can see here on the Modern Apps Ninja organization, there is a repository called June21 Hackathon. So it is a live repository. Mouse click is starting to be nice and slow for us. I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. And so this is the repository for the hackathon. Now, I want to show you real quick how I created this hackathon, or how I created this repository, because it's quite easy to do with some of our workflows created from the course repository template. And it's a very easy thing to do. Now, one thing to note about this process I'm doing right now, you do have to have a certain level of permission to be able to initiate this particular workflow. And that's part of the reason why when we have to register with the community, we have them actually join our GitHub organization. So that way, for those who are interested, if you want to, do more of, do say different things or have certain levels of permissions to be able to do things like if you're interested in creating new courses, we can give you that permission that will allow you to initially run this workflow. At the same time, for a lot of people, they may have an interest at whether it's creating a new course or creating a new lab guide. If they might have interest in that, they may not care about any other type of contribution and may not want to be, have that level of permission. And so this workflow also makes it easy to where if somebody does want to create a course or lab guide, that they could put in an issue ticket request and someone with the appropriate permission can very easily fulfill it. And so to create a new course, we go here to create a new course. And there's a very, very simple form to be able to do this. And so you can see the only variables that need to be created are your full course title, your short course title, which is what displays in like a navigation bar, as opposed to where the full course title would display in like your title on the page. And then there's this other thing. I needed to have better variable names or at least descriptive names for these, but nonetheless they are what they are. but if you read the sections, the main thing here is you can see no spaces, characters must be valid to use in the URL. So this is actually going to be a core part of the URL, the org name that gets created with the repo, or not the org name, the repository name, and also what the URL will be for the GitHub page's website for this new course repository when it's created. And then there's very simple thing. As part of the naming convention, there's the ability for whoever's creating the course to create a 2-letter abbreviation of their choice. And it is by design intentionally not intended to signify anything official. The idea being like I may use letters that might relate to the course title or something like that, but I don't want to have any official schema around these 2 letters. Because the main purpose is that I wanted to have a course ID that is not cumbersome for humans, and so by allowing the choice of these 2 things, we allow freedom for maybe anybody who might want to use the platform to create content without having to worry about a more complex schema and policy rules. The ability to still give them an identifier that may be meaningful to them, that helps them to have a course ID that is not not some ridiculous esoteric string, but still has a wide degree of namespace, if you will, to be able to create a very wide scope of possible course ID values or content ID values, and then the course description. And so redescribing the form takes a lot longer than it takes to actually create the course. It takes 20 seconds to come in and fill out these values. And so I did that, and that's how I created the course. And so you can actually go ahead and see, like here, the most recent course run that already ran. This was the workflow that ran to create this. Now, interestingly, one thing I'm realizing might be a little bit confusing is what we're looking at over here is our hackathon week page. I mean, I wouldn't describe it as a course, and it's actually, once I'm finished with this hackathon week repository, I'm going to make some modifications to where this would be a new content type for us, so that way when we host future hackathons, I'm debugging some workflows now that are optimized to support the hackathon use case. And we do plan to host hackathons on a frequent, regular basis going forward. And so to create this, since I don't have a template specifically for hackathons yet, the course template is actually very similar to what I want for the hackathon template. And so I'm starting with this course template, and I'm making modifications to it. And when it's done, it will initially serve as the hackathon site, and I'll also use the assets there on that hackathon site to create a hackathon template that we can use for future events. And so I use this create new course, and that does a lot of valuable things for us. It takes the course repository template and it creates a new repository, and it replicates the content in the course repository template onto the new repository, and also does some scaffolding for you. And so, like, we created those title variables and description variables in that form to run the create new course workflow. And so in here, in these scripts that I have running this, it will use those variables to inject the title and the pages where the title is supposed to go, the description, and so on. There's definitely more optimization we can do for routine tasks that could be scaffolded, but this does most of the routine tasks, and it puts a great baseline in place as we make many needed improvements to the script over time. That we have a baseline here that we can add additional scaffolding for repetitive and redundant tasks. And so I'm not going to go through this in detail. These you can see from some of the titles that there's something of a very esoteric, like old school algorithm to do a random content ID identifier number selector and then validate that it's random. And at the time I wrote it, like you can see here, it's going through multiple attempts rather than having proper looping logic. At the time I wrote it, I'm still not certain if the limitation and how I had to end up writing it was a limitation in GitHub Actions or a limitation in my knowledge of GitHub Actions. And I think, you know, in some ways it's definitely the latter, because it's definitely 100% possible to do, you know, any type of you know, programmatic instruction in these workflows and looping and conditionals and so on. But where the method I was using, I was using one of the possible multiple different methods you can use in your constructing workflows, and at least in my level of knowledge I had in the initial documentation I was able to find at the time I was writing this, I was having problems with some of their conditionals and loops. And I have other things in here that are looping fine, you know, other loops are working fine, but I was having some trouble with that one. So it turns out that it's definitely more than mathematically adequate to do for, you know, to have a potential to run through for loops for random ID verification. But nonetheless, it's kind of a temporary thing until we can refactor. There's lots of things in here that need to be refactored and optimized. And you know, I think part of that is intentional, because I think there's value in going through those exercises publicly and how we can look at a legacy or a poorly, you know, constructed asset and evolve it to, you know, step by step towards increasing native goodness. And so yeah, this go ahead, it creates the template, it implements our Vmware such that our organization-wide identity service through GitHub, GitHub's identity model is based around having teams and then allocating, and so teams are an organization-wide construct, and within every single repository, you have to assign what level of permission that a team will have in that repository. And so when you first initially registered with the community, the same workflow that invited you to join the Modern Apps Ninja org also added you to the Modern Apps Ninja members team. And so if you're a member in the community, you are already a member of a team. And yeah, so this makes sure that, you know, the members tier has now, there may be, you know, you may, through participating in the community, want to or do things where you might get move up the ladder in terms of the GitHub's permission model, which is kind of aligned with a learning experience. Like the next level past member is triage, which is really the next natural level when you're learning about how to participate and work and understand working on GitHub repositories. And then beyond that is the write permissions, or I call it it's commonly referred to as the contributor level of permission. And then beyond that, the maintainer level. And each of those have this also implements a policy model, so that there's both that IAM control and policy control. So somebody with as part of the Modern Apps Ninja org's maintainer team, when this script creates a new repository, it sets up the maintainers team to have that maintainer level permission on each of the repositories, and so on. And there's still once that is not a declaratively enforced setting, and so if somebody wants to more tightly control policy for their own particular course that is completely configurable. But the default setting is that if somebody is a triager on one course, they have the same permission to have that triage level of permission on any course, and likewise with contributor and maintainer. And that also ties into some additional permissions that we have in our policy there. That may not be 100% fully implemented yet, and maybe depending on where you look. But the intent is that we do want to have some level of quality control over updates to course content or course features. We don't want it to be cumbersome. We don't want to create dependencies on one or very, very few people. And so the idea is hopefully as the community grows, more people will go through the different hackathons and courses that we have that will lead them to increasing participation and getting that triager level permission or the contributor level of permission. And say somebody wants to make a commit to a course, there should be a review. And the question is like, what level of review is needed? And my desire is, like I said, this is the cool thing I think about ModernApps Learning program from a contributor standpoint is this is absolutely production content. VMware uses this content and promote this content. It's VMware content, and that's community that is facilitated jointly with the community, and so it is production content from a resume standpoint, right? And it definitely is. But at the same time, I really want to create an environment. We're not building software, and we're not providing a $5,000 course, right? We're providing free content, and where our goal is, we're more focused on trying to provide more content and to stay more up to date, more than we are over the bells and whistles. We do want to have strict guidelines for minimum levels of quality, but at the same time, we're definitely more oriented towards trying to keep up as much content as we can for the community than we are to trying to be very, very bells and whistles as might find in a more traditional course. And so yes, we have this created the course and all that policy layer stuff. And just to finish out that last thought, that's one of the ideas is that if somebody wants to make a commit to a site, there should be at least some level of quality assurance to that. And my thought is that 2 people with contributor level permissions have to give an approved review. And it may not be 2 people yet. It may, and there's a few, power user level people with super admin privileges that can come and just approve things. But my goal is as the community grows and more people start participating at that level, there's more contributors around, that if we have that model where any contributor can write an approving review. Now, when you think about contributor level permissions, it says right, it's kind of scary. Does that mean I'm giving people right level permissions? So anyone could come with that level of permission could come. A lot of people don't want to have that burden, and it's and so the way that GitHub permissions work is they're designed to work with other security mechanisms. Big one being branch protection. Right? So on one hand, to have contributor level permission, that is a right level permission. But to control for that, what you do is you put a branch protection rule that will say something like there have to be at least X approving reviews before this content, the pull request can be approved and merged. And so it's kind of one of those things like right level permissions for people. That sounds interesting. I'd be careful with that. But like I said, with the other controls in place, I think it facilitates an environment where before people have that the contributor level permission, we want to have some record with the community of participation and some history, and maybe have gone through some of the courses, but at the same time, we want to keep it very flexible to where people can feel safe to learn. To know, I think those controls, like for me, feel a little bit like a security blanket for new people, because it gives them a level of empowerment. At the same time, it provides a safety net, and at the same time, hopefully facilitates community contribution. As I said, anybody who's a contributor on any course can provide one of those approving reviews. My hope is that, hey, if somebody is participating in the community, they're they realize they need to get another approving review from another contributor. And maybe they go to the message boards, they talk to peers, other people they know in the community, and it makes it easy to provide that kind of community. The community inspires, hopefully, community participation and interaction with each other. So create the course, and let's get into, and once we create the course, we went to the course info template here. And I click this button that says fork. And actually, not the course repo template, forgive me. From the course repo template, I ran that workflow, and that workflow created the new repository for the hackathon. Right? And so at that point, I go to the hackathon repository. And now I could potentially clone this and start working on it, what have you, but according to our practices, of the recommended practices, is I do like and will eventually forcefully enforce the idea that all pull requests, all commits should come from a fork, and not that in every case that using forks is always the thing that everyone has to do or feels is always a best practice. It's very, very commonly a best practice, but there's also a matter for us of like consistency and all the for every different methodology that we have to support. There's layers of documentation, support, policy controls, etc. And so it's for a lot of reasons. I think it makes a lot of sense to do fork, and also kind of aligns with one of our goals of the community is, hopefully as when people come to this community, whether they fully realize it or not, I want them to walk away knowing how to contribute to open source project. And it is probably, at least in my experience, the most common thing is when you're doing local development, that's if you're trying to submit an update to a site that you want to do it on, they'll want you to do it on your own fork and submit the pull request that way, which is exactly the same thing that everyone's done if you've gone through any of the courses on GitHub. So when I said it's subtle, but like the notion that when people register for the community, they open an issue ticket, and then when they enroll in the course, they post a new file to a repository. And when you take any test in any of the courses on GitHub, you have to modify an existing file. I picked those three things for a very specific reason, because that is all you need to know to become a very active and meaningful contributor on a Git project. Right? Now that doesn't mean, right, some Git projects, there's Git projects that are entirely any different coding language that you can pick, right? And when I say that those are the three skills you need to participate in any repo, those are the core skills from a Git perspective that you need to participate in any one of these type of projects. That being said, that doesn't mean that depending on the project, there aren't project-specific knowledge requirements. But one thing to think, I'm not a developer. I don't come from a developer background. I'm learning, as I go. But if think like, oh, am I going to be able to contribute much? Well, one thing to keep in mind is that most big open source projects are doing documentation, right? Every every one of these projects has people who are releasing builds of code with some level of instruction that very much value it when people come through and test things out. If we just consider documentation, there's so much REST documentation out there, and you think about, you can, from your professional profile standpoint, use these skills to go onto the Kubernetes repository, onto other repositories, and make commits to their documentation, right? Just to be able to edit, make edits to things where they've maybe made misspellings or had really kind of sloppy writing or grammar, punctuation, things like that. And then next thing you know, your GitHub profile shows that you've committed to the Kubernetes repository or so on. And so it's really the key thing is that those three skills tell you how to create something on GitHub repository or modify something on GitHub repository. Depending on your role in the project, you might be somebody who provides like an infrastructure configuration file, right? If you're doing infrastructure as code, even outside of the context of containers and Kubernetes, if you're doing infrastructure automation, infrastructure as code, you should definitely be using version control system and this type of automation, or at least building towards it, because there's so many advantages as you may not start this way, but as you start to optimize towards increasing levels of infrastructure automation, there's this tremendous advantages for many use cases for having the knowledge to know how to take advantage of leveraging a version control system like GitHub, GitLab, version control server, et cetera, to really drive that infrastructure automation. Okay. So the workflow that we ran through created this course. I came through here, I clicked the fork button, and now you can see here I've already got my fork created. It's, if those who haven't done it right, it's a simple process of just clicking this. Don't get thrown off by the terminology. I know a lot of times, like especially for myself as well, when I was first learning about Git, hearing words like pull request and fork scared the heck out of me. And a lot of times for good reason, because I think for me, my experience was when I started learning Git, I think most of the courses out there really jumped into the weeds and the deep end very, very quickly and focused on things that were either foreign to me, like very developer-centric use cases, or learning about reference heads and long-running branches and all types of things that you don't need to participate in if you're the person who's designing the Git repositories and workflows, then yeah, over time you need to develop those, but nobody's getting started on a new serious project, with Git repositories and version control systems without having somebody who has some level of experience in that, right? And everybody's going to start as a participant and then evolve their skills over time. So that's what really this is optimized to do. So you click on, if you were creating a fork, I just click on this and it don't get thrown off by the word. Just follow with really simple instructions. If you just follow along and don't let the wording get in the way, you will definitely be. So I created this fork, and this, by the way, this is not something that you're going to have to do. I'm just this is a more complex workflow for those who are getting started. I'm just providing like a high-level overview, so you kind of can see what the process is behind the scenes for creating a course. Okay, so now I have my fork, which is a copy. It is a linked copy that has some special linkage stuff between this and the ModernApps Ninjas, the main version of this repository at ModernApps Ninja. And the purpose of this is, again, so if I want to make changes, I can make and test my changes here on my copy of this, and make sure that I have them the way I want to, and so that way I can then submit them back to the main repository once I have my changes and updates the way that I want. And so once I've got to here, now from my own repository, I just went to this code and use this GitHub repo clone blah of the just copied this. I use the GitHub CLI. I will sooner or later probably have some lab guide for that, but at the same time, it's not my highest priority. because there's tons of good documents on how to do the initial setup for the GitHub CLI out there for her to use it. But this is just, as you can see here, there's all three options if you want to use HTTPS, SSH, or GitHub CLI. I don't currently enforce any type of token level access requirements for these repositories. So you can easily just clone your fork down. So I copied that, and then I went into my bash shell, and as you can see right here, I entered this command to clone this new hackathon repository. And that, and Visual Studio Code has this nice tree browser. So once I clone the repository into my local file system, I was able to hit the refresh button here, and my folder showed up here. So now I can continue to navigate and do things from CLI, but I also have this nice little clickable file browser here to go through and finish the editing on my files. And so the default course repository here has a home page, and then in the document subdirectory, that's where we host all the content pages, and you can kind of go back and forth between the web view and this backend view to really help make sense of it. Right? But you can go through and I could teach more about it, I could talk about it more, but really the best way to really easily understand how to make updates to the website. But you can go and take classes and Markdown and Hugo and all that good stuff, but you don't need it. You really don't, because a lot the most of the basic edits that you would make are very intuitive. Right? And you can kind of learn by looking at how some other things are going. Like if you were to go and look at the web page for the collaboration feedback and sort, you click over to the web page and you'd see real quickly that it's a page that displays a YouTube video. And if you look at the link on the URL, you would see, oh, the URL shows that if I go to youtube.com/this or something like close to that pattern, that's where this ID, it's just the video ID for YouTube. So if I put in something with this exact markup, that's how I get a YouTube video shot. And this one is a little bit, this is a fancy little way to put in a little code in your Markdown. If you just look at like text files here, the text files are a little bit simpler because you can very easily see this paragraph on the web page, and it's very easy to make edits. And I'll just demonstrate how to do that. All right. So once you've so all I did is I just created that fork, click, entered that command to clone down my fork, and the repository is already prepared to be able to generate your website from this, a local copy. You don't need to do anything too special. You do have to just install Hugo, which is really easy to do. You just need to have it installed and there's really easy installation instructions for Windows and Linux and Mac. And so you just follow the very simple instructions for Hugo. You download the repository. And once you navigate to the repository, and if you see down here on the bottom of the screen, sorry, I should increase my size here. I'll increase my size. So, it's just going up. Well, it's not increasing it. Hopefully this is large enough for you to see somewhat here. So the very bottom line here, you can see I'm navigated to this repository. And from here, I can just very simply type in the command called Hugo Server. And it has this really, really nice native server utility that just built into it has that functionality like Google Scaffold does, to where it's not only just hosting the website. If I go in and I make an edit to my Markdown file, the way that all these sites work, when you go to ModernApps.Ninja, all the sites we manage the content in Markdown. Because you can see here that this is just mostly plain text. This little hash. I could learn that this represents this read it and turn it into a header, a level 3 header, and there's 3 hashtags. But I may not want to, most of the time when editing the text, I'm not going to be editing the header. I'm going to be editing in the content sections, where you can see is just plain text. if this were HTML, if you've seen HTML, every single line has a lot of markup in it. Right? And so as you can see, it's much, much simpler to create your web page content in this markdown format. And what Hugo does for us is it takes that markdown content, and every time we make a change to a repository, it generates new HTML content based on the update that you've made. It does a build process. And so that's kind of really cool also, in that it really helps for those of us who may not have had as much experience working with software build processes. That allows us to really start to get experience with a workflow and automated software build process without needing to get into a complex software build process, because this is about as basic of a process as you can get. We're not compiling code. It's just converting this text into HTML. A very, very simple process that happens transparently behind the scenes, but starts to give a very, very good introductory level experience to people to start to get exposure to a CI/CD type style automated software build process. And so easy to build these now. You can see here, I typed in that command Hugo Server, and that launches the server, and it tells me where it's on my local host in this directory. I can control click on that. And I can see here, I've got the hackathon page up. And I can see here the content that I have from my hackathon page. Now, you can see there's some content that I got my hackathon overview and instructions. And then I have these other things. And these are artifacts from the course template. In the new course template, I have a page that has course template instructions. And it also retains some content pages from another course to provide a reference for the course creator. So the course creator for a new course could either modify or potentially delete the things there that they didn't just provide them some additional reference material beyond the set of instructions. And so I'm actually going to delete everything over this other than hackathon overview and instructions. So I'll have this posted shortly after the meeting. Sometime today, I'll get this site will be live. The website is live, so you can go to modernapps.ninja/ and you will see a version of the website, but it won't have all the most recent updates until I finish the updates. So I'll do working on right after, continuing on after the call. And so let's go ahead and jump in here and see the hackathon overview and instructions. This gives us all the instructions that we need to get started. Some of them I'll cover real quickly on the video here, but there's nothing needed to participate that you haven't already done if you've been through the very first Modern Apps Skill course, or you've been through any of the courses where you've on GitHub, where you've enrolled by posting a file or you've taken a test. If you've registered with the community, if you've enrolled in any one of these courses, you've taken tests, you already have every skill that you need to know. The process to request your badge is going to be essentially the same exact process that you do when you take a test or enroll in a course. Sorry about that, baby crying in the background. Let's see. So yes, so hackathon week overview. So basically the idea is starting now, at 8:00 a.m. time today, we started the hackathon timeframe. So from right now through next Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. I was going to do it through Sunday. I wish it was just going to do it on the weekend, but I didn't want people to feel like, since I didn't promote this heavily, that there was no opportunity for people to participate. And so I thought I'd leave this open for a week. I don't know how much participation we're going to get. This is still if I didn't promote it heavily, it's still anything. But again, if you are interested in participating, you get these badges and help out the community, learn some valuable skills, have commits on your public GitHub profile. Also, hopefully, make it valuable experience for you to participate. And so anytime between now and next Saturday night, you can participate in any of the things that it says to do here. And they're very simple. They're things that you won't need you won't need a lot of handholding to do. And also at the same time, over this hackathon period, I'm going to be sure to be paying extra attention to the support option that's available through the primary method of support. And I'll have this documented on this page. I don't think all the instructions are completed here yet. They will be shortly. But if you're reviewing the recording of this call, the primary method to get support is to go to the Modern Apps Learning homepage. Right? On every page. Now, you can open a issue ticket on a child page, but for the purpose of the hackathon, I will accept that. But the challenge I have right now is I have too many alerts coming into my GitHub thing and I haven't set up enough rules to be able to filter them meaningfully. And so I'm not able to effectively track all the different issue tickets from different sources. I'm working on a better solution to that now. In the meantime, for the purpose of the hackathon, if you need any support, the number one way is to go to the Modern Apps Ninja homepage and open an issue ticket at the Modern Apps Ninja homepage. There are other methods that we'll talk about here shortly for support. The issue ticket, actually, when I say the Modern Apps Ninja homepage, I mean the Modern Apps Ninja GitHub homepage. So if you go over here to the learning page, you see that link here, or sorry, the Learn More tab, the Modern Apps Ninja GitHub homepage, where we can open issue tickets. And you can see here issues on the issues tab. You can fill out an issue ticket. And there's a few different labels, some instructions here. One of these is a support request. This is the preferred model because we don't have a lot of people providing support. It's generally just me. Sometimes there's more. There've been times in the past, I said, where we've had a lot of people very actively supporting. So hopefully, as we grow, from all the changes we've recently had to go through, and we'll get back to that level. But the main reason why I prefer this model is the organization and structure around support requests allow us to track them better. And so, it's easy in things like the Slack channel or a message board if it starts to get active for things to get lost. And my number one goal is to make sure things don't get lost. I would rather, not be as timely, but make sure that I get to you and I have the tracking needed to make sure that we do get to your request, and then don't have a chance to forget about it or miss it. So support request is number one method. Number two method, you can click on Modern Apps Ninja. Again, you do need to become a member of the org. If you're not a member, do go to that Modern Apps Skills course, or from the homepage, you can on the register button, provide instructions to register with the community. But once you're a member, you can go to the Teams tab. On the Teams tab, there is a members message board. And you can go here and start a new discussion, right? Now notice if it says here, it gives you the hint that if you did want to notify everybody in the channel, you could type Modern Apps Ninja /members. Don't do that if it's not something that's worthy of notifying them. Like, I'll have to come have a talk with you. But you can also look at this idea that anywhere in one of the GitHub messaging, trouble tickets, pull requests, issue tickets, message boards, you can use an @ symbol followed by a username or a team name, and that will send them notifications so they get notified in the GitHub inbox, and however, possibly in their email or wherever, depending on how they have their settings. And so keep that in mind. You can type in @afuel, right, and that will notify me. You may not want to notify all members, but it's always okay to notify all admins. And so, like, you can see here that you could say, like, there's not that many admins. So if you wanted to, like, try to draw attention to make sure people are getting notified about your inquiry, you can type in something like @ModernAppsNinja/admin. You can also do that in issue ticket, if you'd like as well, to try to draw extra attention to your issue. If you weren't really eager, excited working on something and trying to draw, get response, response as quick as you can. Now the third place is VMware Code Slack. To get access to VMware Code Slack, you have to first go sign up for VMware Code. I don't have time to go through that right now, but it's a very, very simple process. If you just Google search VMware code, you'll see right, they have a form right on their homepage to register with their community. Very simple to do. Once you register with the community, they'll invite you to their Slack board. Once you're in their Slack board, you can go into channels, you'll search for channels and find, or your add channel. And you can see our channel here is ModernApps Learning. So Slack is the least preferred method. I think, if you do want to use it, you can send a little ping in there and see if anybody happens to be online. But I don't think, I think Slack is really only effective if you happen to catch at a time that I'm online. If you do, I might be able to respond immediately and we can have a live conversation. And it's useful for that, right? But if I don't happen to be able to jump on this right at the moment, then Slack becomes a lot less useful because it doesn't have as much structure around it to help make sure things don't accidentally get missed. So definitely prefer first the issue ticket on the ModernApps Learning GitHub homepage. Second, the Teams discussion boards for members, and third would be the Slack channel if you need support during the event. Back to the hackathon overview. So again, I will post the instructions that will have the details, but is a very kind of simple ideas. The first one is report. So in the future, like I do want to use hackathons for more specific purposes. Like specifically, if we're introducing a brand new course that we haven't had a lot of chance for people to go through to make sure that everything's working right, or maybe use the hackathon to focus on one or specific piece of content, set of content that is in need of refresh. Maybe have a focus of hackathon to, or maybe we might be working on a particular new feature that maybe we'll work on together as a focus for competition. But right now, this one, first new one on this new platform, I wanted to keep it very open-ended. I think there's a lot of room for feedback and improvement, and so anything that you go through and see. Now, one thing I'll explain this further in the instructions, difference between a bug and a feature request. A bug is something that you think is a problem, in that, like, I find, like, if I'm just trying to go through this and finish the course, there's something in here that is really tripping me up. It's not like it could be better, but like it's actually creating a problem for me in understanding this properly. Would be a bug. There's a feature request would be an issue where I think this could be better. It could be something big, it could be something small. But if it's not a problem, now don't worry about some things falling a little bit of a gray area. If you're not sure, just take your best guess. Doesn't matter. When you submit the issue ticket, it'll give you the option to say, do I want it to be labeled as a bug or labeled as a feature request? Make your best guess and use whatever your own language to describe what in your own words what you think. Try to include as much detail as you can, and including links to pages. Validate a course or guide. We have what is validate a course or guide mean? What that means is go through a course from end to end and complete the course. And when you're done with the course, open a feedback issue ticket and provide some meaningful feedback. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Now, ideally, I would love for people to go through the course. If you see 10 issues, please open 10 different issue tickets. At this time, we don't have the capacity to recognize, like, there's ability. If you report one issue ticket, you've earned the hackathon QA reporter badge. And if you report 10, there isn't an additional badge you necessarily get for that, other than the warm, fuzzy feelings of helping the community and also building additional commits on your GitHub profile, which is very meaningful. Now I realize I've gotten to the top of the hour. I probably spent a little too long going over that how I created the course thing. Again, I didn't want to use that to scare anybody off for like what you need to know to participate in the hackathon. I thought hopefully it was informational to see how it's done, perhaps aspirational. And again, the simple thing to do, like reporting an issue, making any commit, like adding a period to a sentence, helping anybody else on any one of these support mediums find a resolution, any question that anyone may have. Anything like that, that's it. And once you've done one of those things, you can have the badge. Now, how do you get the badge? Now, if you remember, if you've ever just done any enrollment in a course, all you do is you just go through the web browser, click, and you post a file, right? And so I'll have an instruction here by Monday that shows how to post those files with the scripts that automatically process. And so just like when you post you enroll in a course, you'll post a very simple file, and that will trigger an automated workflow. Now, when you post that file, the one little thing you're going to do different is just remember when you post that file, there's a spot where you could put in notes about what you were posting. What you will put in those notes is the evidence. So if you reported an issue, include the issue ticket number, or ideally a link to the issue. If you validated a course guide, right, that means that you, one, completed you earned the certificate or badge, and that you two filled out the feedback form. So just include the link to the badge and that you earned, and then include the link to the issue ticket you submitted with your feedback, right? And same thing if you supported somebody, whether it was chiming in on an issue ticket and providing the information they needed to get through their problem, whether it was supporting them on a Slack channel or on the Teams message board, or maybe someone reaches out to you that you may know on a different medium, and you're able to support them, help find and answer their question that they had, provide a screenshot, right? And so on, resolve an issue ticket, provide the issue ticket link. So if you update page content, you will submit a pull request for that commitment. Put in the link to the pull request when you are requesting that badge. And so again, requesting the badge, very, very simple, just like when you enroll in a course, you just post a file, you put in the link to the thing that you did, and that's it. And then the badge will be automatically provisioned for you, and it'll be posted to your member site and available on badger.com. So again, apologize, I know it's over the top of hour. I'm going to hang on for 4 minutes. I know that that was not the most thorough instruction yet. Again, it is going to be exactly the same process as when you enroll in the course. And so there's not going to be anything new or daunting about it. And before the weekend's over, I will have very, very thorough instructions posted on this page. And also on one place, also for reference. So this site here, the live version of link to the site, I haven't added it just yet, but very shortly I will add it to the events page for the hackathon. And so you can see here, I have this entry hackathon weekend. I got to change it to hackathon week because I decided to extend it. But in this event here, I will. So if you go to ModernApps Learning, you go to events, I will have the link here to the hackathon page shortly. That will, and so if you want to find additional instructions or refresher on how to do that, again, the basic ask is go through the course. If you see or look around the site, if you see anything you think could be better or anything that is a problem for you, send us that feedback, or better yet, right, make that update. And when you make that update, hopefully the badges, the title that I have for the badges is there. Badges that we have here. So I have you start off with the QA reporter badge. We go to the validator badge. You go through that validation process that we have. If you do support provider badge, to resolve a ticket, that's a triage or level capability. It's getting into committer, and likely if you're resolving an issue ticket, you're actually going to do two things for the price of one, if you will, right? And you could actually do a little bit more than that. Is you can earn a badge for creating an issue ticket. You can earn a badge for resolving an issue ticket, and you can earn a badge for updating page content. Now notice there's bug and feature request issue tickets, and there's support issue tickets. And so this doing support is responding back to a user with some type of information to help them, right? Whereas what is a bug or a feature request? It is there's something wrong, or there's something needed. And if you are able to resolve a bug or feature request ticket, that almost certainly means you made a commitment, right? It means like, what was the bug? There was a problem somewhere. You fixed it if you're resolving. That's what resolving the ticket is. It means fixing the problem that is being reported, right? So if you resolve a bug ticket, that means you did something, you fixed the problem, right? And to fix a problem, that means you had to make an update to the repository that were in the spot that had a problem. Likewise, if you resolved an issue ticket that was a feature request issue ticket, that means that you created a feature. Now, again, in the context of the ModernApps Learning program, a feature does not necessarily mean a feature, a software feature, a platform feature. A feature request, we also use it in this kind of expansive context for a learning purpose, to say a feature could be, when I went to that course, the introduction page, I didn't think it was very good. I thought it was okay. I was able to get through the material, but I thought there was a lot of room for improvement. And I think, you should explain this concept on that page better, right? And so if so there's that idea of like a feature request. You can think of a feature request as a synonym for improvement, right? Improvement is a commonly used word for, in the world of Git as well, that can sometimes used synonymously with the idea of a feature request. I like to use the word feature request here just because, a lot of our audience profile are people who are coming from VI admin background, working towards like gaining this DevOps skill set. And I want to drive familiarity with the types of words that are commonly used, right? And so we're kind of using these lab guides and text-based content as a vehicle to learn the concepts of how you might also commit to maybe a configuration script with Bash or Puppet or something that lives on one of these repos, or maybe help to participate or contribute to a piece of code that does something. Right. So anywho, so if you resolve an issue ticket, you're almost certainly going to be updating some page content, or contributing new content or features. And so when you kind of kill two birds with one stone there, you'll go through and let's say that you find this issue ticket. The issue ticket says, hey, there's a problem somewhere in some content, or I'm pointing out in a recommendation that some content on some page gets improved. Those are our more common things there that we might look at for that. And so again, when I do that, I'm going to go and make a commit that updates it. And when I make that commit, I've also earned some of that. So hopefully I might beat that a little bit. Hopefully that's clear. And I think it's desirable. What you can do to get kind of even more value out of your effort, if you will, earn more badges with less effort, is this idea of reporting an issue, right? So you can earn a badge for reporting an issue, and you can also earn a badge for resolving an issue, and you can also earn a badge for updating content. And so it's absolutely possible to do all those three things in the same motion. And I don't want to make it overly easy to get badges. That's not the intent of that there. The reason why I say it's possible, and I support the idea of someone maybe, I want people to contribute and commit and participate as much as possible. Don't stop it at one. Don't try to take shortcuts. Do more. Right? You'll learn more. You'll learn better, and the community will benefit. I'll personally benefit, and be very grateful to you. So please do more. But one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight this is because I want to inspire good practices. And it is a very good practice when there's an issue to report it as an issue ticket and then resolve the issue ticket when you make the update. Now it's also oftentimes acceptable to not have an issue ticket. Now, the general standard that we want on ModernApps Learning is aside from the repetitive processes where we're automating, like when you enroll in a course and that is posting a file in a way that gets handled automatically. we want to have consistent standards about how we do that, and so and thorough documentation. And so the general guideline for when we make updates, it's always desirable for you to report an issue, so that way that provides my breadcrumb, right? And it also provides a valuable way to work towards having good documentation. Ideally, you want to bring your documentation development as closely in line with every time you make actual changes and updates as possible, as you keep those processes too separated, sometimes things just don't get done. And one little great useful tool that can help towards that is one of the many methods to try to ensure that you keep documentation up to date. But is if you do open an issue ticket for something before you actually make the update, it does provide good opportunity to provide some valuable reference that could become an important source of documentation later. And so the general pattern is open an issue ticket, and then when you make the pull request and the commit to resolve that issue ticket that you opened, then go ahead and you mention the link to the issue ticket that you opened in the pull request that you updated, and then we will that'll link. That'll give us a traceable record of how that issue ticket is related to the pull request that resolved the issue that's described in the issue ticket. Now, it is also acceptable to do the same thing in the pull request, right? Like if you're doing, at the end of the day, let's say that you're going to update the period at the end of the sentence. It really would be a very cumbersome process to say, if before you update the period at the end of the sentence, go to issues, open an issue ticket, come back, open a pull request, fix the period. In the pull request, make sure you grab the issue ticket number. This isn't even that's not even necessarily required. I think the more important part there, I might have glossed past. The more important part is actually the opposite. It is to take the link to the pull request and post that in the resolve issue ticket. But it is probably beneficial to put that information on both sides. So the pull request should have a link to the issue ticket, and the issue ticket should have a link to the pull request. And we're not not doing anything fancy there. Just ideally the full link to the issue ticket or the pull request, because we are doing some centralization of issues that may exist across multiple repositories. The pull request will always be done, like if you're making up to a course, that pull request will be done on that course's repository. But we're asking that when you open an issue ticket, that you open those on the home page, at least for the duration of the hackathon, to help us make sure that we are able to keep an easy track of all the different issue tickets we might have during the hackathon. Okay, and the last thing, the kind of ultimate badge here is the content developer badge. And so anybody there's actually 3 ways now to earn the content developer badge, including really a very, very simple way. And so the goal for the content developer badge is to inspire people. If you have course content, if you would like to share your knowledge and potentially create a course, that's amazing, right? The community would be super grateful, and would be very grateful for that. And I think hopefully there's a lot of benefits as well for content creators. Now, maybe course may seem involved, so maybe a lab guide, simple lab guide, right? So you have guides. You get this badge for creating a lab guide. Another one could be hackathon. Sorry, not a hackathon. Was it? So lab guides, and the easiest one is to post a tutorial. Right? So in the tutorial page, the ModernApps Learning tutorials, right at the top of the page is instructions to how to post a tutorial. So the tutorials is hopefully the simplest way to get started contributing, because you don't actually create content on Modern Apps Learning site. The idea is for, especially for all the people out there who've already, so many people have already either regularly write or have written blogs that are explaining technical content. It has to be an educationally oriented blog. There's lots and lots of blogs like that. And so on the tutorials page, you can just simply put in just the title and the URL and description, and that brings a link to your blog. And so if we will, I've been meaning to create a blog host for people who don't already have a blog. So somebody wants to post a blog, but doesn't have a place where they want to post it. Definitely reach out to me. Maybe we'll throw together a quick blog post, but at the same time, LinkedIn, there's lots and lots and lots of good guides out there on how to use a site, how to use a static site generator to create a blog page and for using GitHub pages on your GitHub repository, other sources, Medium, things like that, where you post a blog and then submit it to the Modern Apps Ninja tutorial catalog, and that will also get you the Hackathon content developer badge. Okay, and so I think that that kind of covers the scope of everything. And I apologize, it'd be much nicer if I had the reference materials on here. But again, if you need to reference this after this call, there's going to be a couple primary ways to do this. One is the video will be posted. So if you listen to the video, you'll have my all these instructions that I'm doing to you can review to explain these processes. But again, by before the weekend's out, ideally, shooting for before the end of the day, the instructions for each of these will be done. But basically, you can go forward and do things now, right? Because you're going to go do things, and then later we're going to worry about submitting process for the digital badge. Now, I'm still going to allow you. You're going to have the process that you can submit for the digital badge to be live by Monday. So you can go ahead and start submitting for those. But at the same time, it would be equally, maybe even more expected to have the digital badge request be at the end of the event. I don't plan to wait for the event to unlock the ability to start, actually earning requesting a digital badge once you've earned it. But again, the main thing is right now, the only thing is just to go do anything. Go do anything, and you'll be earning badge content. So again, and hopefully this what you see here is a helpful reminder. Before any issue, again, to validate a course in lab guide is again complete a course, and then the feedback part. Now, if you have already completed the course in the past, we ask that you please go back through and scan through the materials and make sure you have because this validation is important for us to say, hey, we've attained some level of quality. We understand that the courses are not all super polished. That's not the minimum quality goal. What we really want is for somebody who is the target audience for the course to be able to complete it, right, without anything in there being confusing or some instruction that would stand in the way of someone of the target audience being able to get through the course reasonably well. Right? If there's any deal breakers in there, something was just so utterly confusing that or specifically wrong, or a big one to look out for, there's things that are out of date. I'd love to issue tickets on all the things that are outdated. Things are changing all the time in the Tanzu universe. Having glitches is submit an issue ticket before. Sometimes we don't always resolve them immediately. We may collect them. So we need to get together that nice list of items that we can then much more easily go through when it comes time to make those updates. And support fellow community members. Again, that is anything you do to support a fellow community member, resolve any type of question they have, wherever it may be, whatever format it may be. If you help somebody to answer a question about the community and about that, or about the hackathon, or about the hackathon activity, or about getting through a course, or understanding anybody who asks any support related questions for help, and in any formats, it could be looking through any existing issue tickets and stuff to see if there's any support requests. Again, resolving an issue ticket, straightforward. Updating page content, hopefully that's straightforward. Just again, as a refresher, if you've taken any test on one of my ModernApps GitHub pages, right? You went into existing file, right? You went in and you modified a test key, you added and then you hit submit, right? That's the same exact process you use at any other page. So again, on any page, on any of the courses, you've got this edit this page, and you just follow the same thing. You see the text that backs up this page. You can see where find the text that you want to change. You can change and click to submit. And that's on any of the pages, any of the courses. There are some home pages that don't have an edit this page name. If you know how to navigate to the GitHub backend, and find that page, you can submit a feature, submit pull request that way. Or again, if you see something you'd like to change, but you're not sure how to change it, please do go ahead and just describe the change you'd like to make in an issue ticket. And I will say, like, if there's a page that you'd like to make an update, and in an issue ticket that you put in the very specific text, like if there's a paragraph that you think should be reworded, put the exact update that you think should be there. And I'll still award you that badge. I won't let something like, oh, well, I want to make an improvement to this spot on the homepage. That spot didn't have an edit this page link, so I wasn't sure where to edit. But you still actually did the work of providing the actual content to make that update. I'll still award you that update page badge if that would be fine. But if you are updating any page that has that edit this page link on it, I do expect that to earn this badge. You do go through the edit this page and actually make the update when you do that. And finally, contribute new content or features. Any new idea for lab guide, any other idea for course, any submission for a blog. We're submitting blogs, the updates right there on the tutorials page. If you do want to create a new course or a new lab guide, if you don't already have maintainer level permissions, we'll need to open an issue ticket. And feel free to mention me there. I will be watching issue tickets very closely. It may take a matter of several hours, but if you are interested in creating that new course, just open that issue ticket, and I will work with you to get the new course or new lab guide page set up. So that way, and your permission set up, so you can go ahead and make the edits that you want to submit that content. Sorry, I know I went through that twice. I know since we're still lacking the reference materials that thoroughly documented at this point, I just wanted to be a little bit extra thorough, a little bit extra redundant, to make sure that I got to everything and hopefully explain more rather have too much of the explanation than not enough. So later today, I'll have detailed text-based explanations for each one of these things to describe it. Hopefully, as of right now, there's enough information here to where you can actually go and start earning badges. And I will update the members discussion board and the event, the hackathon event on the homepage with the information when the instructions are complete on this page. So thank you for hanging with me through those instructions. I know it's a little bit dry, but I really hope the new badges are desirable. These are one-time badges, right? We will have additional hackathon, but the badge itself will be the hackathon June 2021 badge. So the only time that anyone will ever be able to earn these badges is during this hackathon. And think about, in the future, if you participate in more hackathons, you may have another opportunity to earn additional hackathon badges. And I hope that, that's over time that could be a meaningful thing. So, hey, there's not just one hackathon badge, regardless of how many hackathons I participate on. If I participate in multiple, I'll have multiple badges, and badges you're going to have visible on your Modern Apps Media member profile page, or Modern Apps Learning member profile page, and you'll also, if you go log into your badger.com digital badge provider, log into that account, it will be there in your profile on Badger. So again, thanks for hanging with me as I got through the extra time to go over the hackathon, and apologize if I went a little bit long in that overview of the course creation workflows. Thanks again for participating in the hackathon. I look forward to working with you. And I will be online. I'll be a lot throughout the week. I may not be online at the moment. It may take me When you submit your issue, matter of hours before I'm able to get to it, just depending on the time and the moment. But I will make every effort to check all of the different issue tickets and message boards and Slack channels regularly throughout the week. Thanks again, and I will see you throughout the week. Have a good one.